It always feels like when it comes to Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, like we've heard it all, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every stone has been turned over, but trust me,
Mm.
there are always more stories lurking in the shadows.
Oh, yeah.
And this time we are unearthing a novel from 1903
Okay.
called Rival Caesars
Okay.
by Desmond Dilg. And this book throws a real curveball right from the start because it claims to be based on real hidden documents.
Interesting.
Intriguing, right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about why a fictional take on history, even one with, kind of shaky claims of truth, can actually offer some valuable insights.
Hmm.
What's your take on historical novels just in general?
Um, I tend to find that even with made-up plots and characters, they can really capture the spirit of a time period
Right.
in a way that maybe straight history books sometimes miss.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like you get a different flavor for the time.
Yeah, you get those everyday details, like how people dressed, what
Oh,
they ate,
right.
the things that bring the past to life.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
and then you can start to draw those connections to the bigger picture.
Exactly. And speaking of the bigger picture, I mean the political stage in the early days of the United States, post-revolution,
Yeah.
that was definitely set for a dramatic rivalry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got Burr and Hamilton, both incredibly ambitious,
Mhm.
but clashing hard on their visions for this new nation. You've got Hamilton, the staunch Federalist, wanted a strong central government, very much pro-business, pro-industry.
Right.
And then Burr.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say he was known to be a bit more,
Adaptable.
yeah, a little more flexible in his morals and his viewpoints.
Aligning himself with whoever could help him advance his own climb to power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And this is where Rival Caesars goes full on like political thriller.
Okay.
Because it introduces this secret society called the Iron Cross.
Oh.
Okay, so think secret rituals, blood oaths,
Oh, wow.
the whole
Like a shadowy fraternity.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And Dilg uses this fictional society, I think is a really powerful symbol.
I can see that. Secret organizations, they were a source of much fascination back in Dilg's time.
Right. Mirroring, I think, some of the real anxieties of the early 1900s.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, imagine. You got rapid industrialization happening,
Yeah.
waves of immigrants.
Right. A sense of like
There's this huge cultural shift, yeah. And so these groups, these fictional groups like the Iron Cross, with their oaths and rituals,
Right.
they might have reflected this yearning for order.
Right. I get it. Control amidst all that change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Amidst the uncertainty.
Okay, so we've got the political rivalry, we've got the secret society,
Mm-hmm.
and then he says, "Hold my beer," because he cranks up the drama even more by entangling Burr and Hamilton in a love triangle.
A love triangle.
Yes, with a woman named Margaret Moncrief.
Okay, tell me more.
The real Margaret Moncrief.
Okay.
She was an interesting figure in her own right.
Mm.
She was actually connected to the American Revolution through her loyalist father, which is kind of an interesting wrinkle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. But Dilg uses this fictionalized romance to really explore the complexities of ambition.
Okay.
And he paints both Burr and Hamilton as completely captivated by her. And of course, their rivalry just intensifies as they vie for her affections.
Ah, so it's a classic trope.
Yeah.
Right. The battle for a woman's love, it becomes this microcosm for their larger struggle for power.
Yes.
What I find interesting is how Dilg uses that fictional element to kind of probe deeper into their motivations.
Right.
Were they truly in love with Margaret, or was she just another pawn in their game of ambition?
Right. Was she a means to an end for them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I think is so clever is that he doesn't shy away from weaving in those real historical events.
Right.
So he's got the revolution, the election of 1800. He's got these real things happening in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the catch. He's presenting them through this distorted lens of his fictional world.
So he's blurring that line.
Yes.
Between fact and fiction.
100%.
To serve the narrative.
I like it.
Yes,
Yeah.
to serve his narrative. And that's where we as readers or in this case listeners, we need to be careful,
Right.
right? Because it's so easy to get swept up in the drama.
But what's really fascinating is trying to unravel why Dilg made the specific changes that he made.
Exactly, yeah. What do those deviations from documented history tell us
Yes.
about his perspective, his worldview,
Right.
or maybe even what his audience in the early 1900s, what were they hungry to read?
Exactly.
What did that say about them?
What were those appetites? Yeah. So let's dive into one of the most striking examples of this, I think, which is the portrayal of the Iron Cross and how deeply it influenced both Burr and Hamilton's decisions. There's this one scene that I found so striking.
Okay.
It takes place in Burr's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And Dilg describes this chaotic jumble of papers, books, hats, canes, guns, swords, overcoats.
Wow.
Just like the general bric-a-brac of an 18th century bachelor's apartment, you know?
Yeah.
I can picture it.
Right. But right in the middle of it all, amidst this mess, this very masculine energy, they make their pact to join the Iron Cross.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a pact sealed with a blood oath, no less.
Oh my gosh. Talk about dramatic irony, right?
Oh, Dilg is laying it on thick.
Right. I mean, we know these two are on a collision course. History tells us that much.
Exactly.
But here they are, swearing allegiance, promising to help each other climb the ranks of power.
It's like he's drawing a direct line between that chaotic energy of Burr's apartment and the chaotic nature of their ambition.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that question, is a world without war even possible? I mean, posed amidst all the upheaval of the early 1900s, it takes on this whole other meaning, you know? Oh, absolutely. It's like Dilg is grappling with this idea of, is ambition, especially, the kind of ambition that thrives on competition, that thrives on, almost like conquest. Is that just an inherent part of human nature?
Yeah. Can we ever truly escape it?
Right. And speaking of ambition, we can't overlook the women in Rival Caesars and how they're navigating this world that is so driven by men's desires, right? So you got Margaret,
Okay.
who is far from a shrinking violet, let me tell you.
I get the sense she's not.
She is defiant, she's witty, she's unafraid to admit her own ambition. There's that scene where she is with these other young women and they're supposed to be, batting their eyelashes and dreaming of husbands, and Margaret just cuts right through it.
What does she say?
She says, and I quote, "I want to find me a man and a king. I will never marry one who is not brave and bold and famous and successful."
Wow. She's not messing around.
No, she knows what she wants.
That is pretty direct. So it wasn't just about finding a husband for her. It was about power.
Yes.
Sharing in that power, sharing in that fame.
100%. And Dilg takes it a step further by having her defy her father and sneak into the Iron Cross meeting.
Wow. Okay, so she is really putting herself out there.
Yes, she's risking it all just to be near that dangerous, ambitious energy.
Fascinating.
And then there's Theodosia. Theodosia, she's a widow. She's older than both Burr and Hamilton.
Okay.
And she's such a fascinating departure from Margaret's, youthful longing.
Also,
Theodosia has this wisdom, this understanding of the human heart. It makes her alluring in her own right.
okay.
She becomes this guiding force for Burr, encouraging his ambition, even when it means, sacrificing their love.
Yeah.
It's like she embodies the seductive nature of ambition itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm drawn to that scene where they first meet. He's wounded, he's seeking refuge in her remote cabin.
Good.
And she nurses him back to health. And you sense this immediate connection.
Right.
But it's not just physical, it runs much deeper. And it's Theodosia who really sees his ambition, right? Like she understands the depths of his desire.
It's like she recognizes something in him.
Yes, absolutely.
Before maybe even he fully does. Yeah.
And I think, it makes you wonder, how much agency, how much power did women truly have in this era?
Right. Even the most unconventional ones like Margaret and Theodosia.
Right. To what extent were their own ambitions always going to be, intertwined with the men in their lives?
It's a question that resonates even today.
Right, exactly. It really makes you think about how Dilg uses these female characters, right, to explore the different facets of ambition. Because you have Margaret,
Right.
who's driven by this like youthful yearning for power, almost a naive hunger.
Right.
And then you have Theodosia
Right.
with this like more world-weary understanding
Yeah.
of what ambition actually costs.
Yeah, you see that wisdom in her, in the way she advises Burr.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And speaking of the cost of ambition, I mean, Dilg, he doesn't shy away from those darker aspects, does he?
No, not at all.
When it comes to the men in this story, right? He reminds us that ambition often comes at a price.
It always does.
Yeah, morality,
Yeah.
friendship,
Uh-huh.
even life itself in some cases.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, was that sense of cost, of sacrifice even more heightened in a time like the early days of the United States?
Oh, that's interesting.
When everything felt so new,
Right.
so fragile. I mean, you had these men shaped by the revolution, these builders, but also potentially destroyers. Right?
Yes.
Their ambition was a double-edged sword.
Right, because they were trying to build something new,
Yes.
but also, I mean, they were still grappling with the ghosts of the past in a way.
And their own demons.
And their own, yes, their own demons. And you see that duality, I think, most clearly in the way Dilg depicts the lead up to the duel.
Oh, absolutely.
There's that chilling scene where Hamilton decides to expose Burr's past scandals.
Yeah.
And it's driven by jealousy, by this desire to break Burr.
Yeah.
It's not even really about the good of the nation at that point.
No, it's personal.
It's personal. It's a vendetta.
Fueled by years of rivalry.
Yes.
Of intertwined pasts.
Yes. And that's what makes it so much more, I think, than just a simple political rivalry.
Right.
Right. It becomes this tragic clash of destinies almost.
Yes, it's like they were destined to clash.
Yes.
From the very beginning.
And Dilg uses, he uses that backdrop of the Iron Cross.
Right.
That shared oath of brotherhood.
Right, which makes it even more tragic.
Show how their ambition ultimately poisoned their bond.
Yeah, it's like that ambition, it was almost like a curse.
It's like a Greek tragedy.
It is. It's a Greek tragedy.
Yes. It's like they couldn't escape it.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, did Dilg believe that this duel was inevitable? Or was he trying to say something more about power itself,
Yes.
About how it can warp even the strongest of bonds.
Yes. It's so insightful.
It's a question that really stays with you.
Yeah.
Long after you finish the book.
And we can't know for sure what was in Dilg's mind.
Right.
But I do find it fascinating that he chose to frame their story through this lens of ambition and fate. Those big forces.
And ultimately, I think what makes Rival Caesars so compelling, even with its fictional liberties,
Right.
is that it makes us re-examine these figures. It makes us question their motivations. It makes us consider, how ambition played its part in shaping their destinies.
It's like he's adding a new layer of complexity to a story that, we thought we knew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the power of historical fiction.
Yes.
Right.
Taking these figures, these events, and making us look at them with fresh eyes.
100%.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the facts right.
Right.
It's about understanding the humanity
Yes.
behind the history.
Rival Caesars might not be, a completely reliable historical account.
Right.
But it reminds us that history is ultimately about human beings.
Yes.
It's about their passions.
Their flaws.
Their flaws.
Their choices.
Their choices, yes. So to our listeners, if you find yourself, kind of intrigued by this world where, history and fiction start to blur a little bit, if you're looking for a fresh perspective on figures like Burr and Hamilton, I think Rival Caesars just might be that captivating escape that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Just, keep your skepticism close at hand.
Yeah.
And be prepared to be drawn into a world where ambition reigns supreme.
Yes.
And the price of power, well, it might be steeper than you imagine.